Good evening and welcome to another live edition of Manchester's #1 talk show, Your Manchester, with me, Mark Llewellyn, and just me tonight. No Belinda by my side. I feel a bit drafty down here, you know. But she has been whisked away. We know not where. Is she on a beach? Is she skiing? Is she on a cruise? We don't know. I just heard a rumour she may have been taken up the... That may be wishful thinking. So on tonight's show, our Izzy out and about in Stalybridge, finding out about a fabulous community project. I'm hot-footing it to Leeds to have a look at the shops. We're talking about a hard-hitting play coming to both Sale and Bolton next month. But first, a breakout star of the TV series The Voice, Vince Freeman. New album, and let's hear him in action.
What was that? We'll get you there. I blame myself and no other, 'cause you didn't own me, and I didn't know me. I blame myself and no other, 'cause you didn't own me, and I didn't know me. Time to teach you what I thought I wanted. Schools told I was cold, thought I had it all. The chances were mine. Now I can't untake, I can't remake, can't be better words, thought I'd never say. I count the cost and the cost of mine. I blame myself and the weather.
You've had a great time. You're the winner of 2 indie awards, and you've got a new album coming out. What was it like after The Voice? Because I believe you had a few medical issues.
It wasn't something that happened instantly. I kind of did The Voice, and then I sort of, continued, gigging, writing, and all that kind of stuff. And I just found that more and more frequently, my back would start hurting, or I'd be in pain, up to a point where, the painkillers stopped working, and then, stronger painkillers. And then, I think at one point, I think it was about maybe 2 years into that, and, just gradually struggling more to just kind of get through the day. Just woke up one morning and my leg sort of stopped working, and I just ended up, falling over, ended up flat on my face in my hallway.
And I mean, how does that affect someone like you, a creative? Does it inspire you, or does it hinder?
I think at the time, I mean, I don't know about other people, but I mean, I'm very stubborn, so that makes me, tend to run around with my hands over my ears when something's not going quite the way I want it to, and la la la, I'm not listening. So there was a number of years where I was like, I remember, I mean, literally I had that collapse ended up with me having an emergency operation, 2 discs and a bit of bone taken out of the bottom of my spine. And, I guess that, to give you an example, 3 days after the operation, I called up a mate of mine and I said, I've got this show in Exmouth that I need to do. I don't think I can drive to it, but I think I might be able to manage the show. So like, I'm laid on the back seat of my car, and my mate's driving me down to this show in front of like 400 people. And, I did one set, and then sort of came backstage and then collapsed. And, all the while thinking it's fine. It's not. It's not a problem.
But luckily, you've managed to turn it around. I mean, you've got this new album out, haven't you?
Years ago, I wrote the words "Scars, Ghosts, and Glory." I didn't know it was the album title. I have a tendency to kind of, have ideas or lyrics or these kind of things. And if I have, if I kind of feel like it's important, I'll write it down. And I had this scrap bit of paper, and I pinned it on my studio wall. That's where it stayed. And then, I got the opportunity to make an album that I didn't think I was going to make. And, so I think all in all, it's kind of like the story of my career or my life.
I think what's great, what's interesting is this is a storytelling album, isn't it? And I suppose they're not as popular as they once were.
I mean, without being derogatory to to modern music and commercial music, I think people's attention spans have been vastly reduced, and so I think we're in a world where especially pop music, it's kind of like chewing gum. Tastes good for a bit, and then you spit it out and throw it away, and get another stick of gum. I mean, I love music, and the music that inspires me is the music from albums that tell stories, that engage, that are brave, that are that are flawed, all these things. And I just kind of, I feel like I'm not trying to wind back the clock, but I feel like that like nobody's doing proper show. Very few people are doing proper shows anymore, for example. And I feel like if I can do that, and the show that we just did in London, which was like it was the sort of penultimate show for the UK tour. It was just a dream come true, because it was like I was looking out at the audience and I was like, there's a connection there, and it was a proper show. It wasn't like, oh, this is a song I wrote about here, and it's called this. Play the song, do the next song. There's a journey with the show, with the performance, the live show, as well as the album. And I think it's just, for me, it's just kind of like I want to know whether I'm correct in thinking that people are just aching for something like that. Because I am.
Now, you mentioned touring there. Do you enjoy touring?
Absolutely love it. And do you know what? We've obviously spoken about the backside of things. I couldn't tour. So that's essentially why I lost 10 years. I lost 10 years. I've gotten back. I'm fit as a fiddle now. And it's just, there's two things that, there's two things that I love to do where I feel like I'm home. It feels like it's not as easy as breathing, but it feels very natural to me. And that's being in the studio, creating and writing, and being on stage.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening, Vince. And that new album is out, and it is called Scars, Ghosts and Glory. Now, it's been a bit more glorious the past few days in Manchester, hasn't it? With a bit more sunshine, a bit nippy, I suppose, but it's supposed to get warmer. And we've been sent this little basket from our friends at Daisy Nook Garden Centre with lots of scented herbs. Now, these are good for indoors, for the garden, and also for balcony planting as well. And this is a new one on me, chocolate mint. Well, our Izzy has been to Stalybridge to visit a community project, but they're also doing a little bit of growth.
Works for You is a specialist college here in Stalybridge. Their main aim is to provide a safe and nurturing learning environment for 18 to 24-year-olds. Since it first opened in 2002, the institution's main aim has been to support those who have previously struggled in mainstream education and to help them build their confidence, independence and reach their aspirations.
I came from a rough background through education. I went through a lot, and then eventually I came here. I was shy, and eventually I was socialising. I never had, and I made a lot of friends that I didn't have. And I do construction because I want to be a decorator, and I just enjoyed like chilling out with my friends and doing lessons with them, and I found comfort in like socialising now. I feel better in myself now.
I used to always just sit at home and just be on my Xbox, and I used to just don't really like go out or anything. But now I started coming to work for you to take me out like different places. So like we're not always doing like work, and we're always going out, going to like shopping, going bowling, and like visiting different events and stuff. And if you ever like short or anything, they help you as much as they can. So that's and we have a nice like cafe as well, where what we have for our dinner as well. So that's what I really enjoy.
The main message of Works for You is that education goes beyond a classroom. The students have a range of opportunities from work placements, community projects, sports and outdoor activities that prepare them for independent living and develop their social skills.
A lot of the young people that come to us have, I don't know, they've been through the system, been let down, they've been promised the world and nothing's materialised. When they come to us, we have quite a nurturing sort of setting. We like to start off with all our young people, I call it soft skills if you like. So before you get anything with a young person, the best way, I think, to get from them is to get to know them, get a relationship built and find out what they like. Because every young person, I think, has a hook. So once you find that hook, you tend to, everything else follows. And the education will settle in and they'll tend to gain qualifications and progress.
I think everyone hears it about education that you never get taught how to live, how to be an adult. So first and foremost, that's what we work on. So we work on the actual life skills, the confidence, the independent living, travel training, social skills, all that kind of aspects before the actual academic side of things.
It's great to see, obviously, all the students progressing from how when they come to Works for You at the beginning to what they leave with, the confidence that they leave with. So sometimes when they do come to us, we have obviously the ones with low confident moods, and then by the time they leave, you see the confidence just flourish. They can leave with the functional skills up to a level 2. We also do core skills, which is like construction area, so they can leave with a level 1 for construction, employability entry 3 and level 1. I do the independent living skills side, so we do travel training on that. We do just basic cooking skills, where to begin with they might not be able to read a recipe, and then hopefully by the end of it they can independently cook that meal, they can follow the recipe, they can go to the supermarket, they can buy the ingredients. They know that they can trust us, they know that they can talk to us. If they are struggling with their mental health, we can try and get them on the right path for obviously the support that they need, not only with us but out of Works for You as well. We just try and make them feel welcome, and then they open up to us, which is good, and then we can do one-to-one key worker sessions with the learners, and that might just be, if they're struggling, just take them out for a cup of coffee and just get to know them in a bit of a deeper level, and then see what help we can provide for them.
A huge part of the college's focus on the students' well-being is animal-assisted therapy.
I suffer with bad anxiety and stress and all that. I like being around the horses, it makes me feel calm, and when I'm stressed I can just go up to a horse and just stroke it and it feels good.
I feel much more relaxed, and because stroking animals, especially if they react in a positive manner, is quite therapeutic.
I love animals and I love feeding them, make me calm, and I like to stroke with animals.
A lot of the learners that we have here have started off at our main centre learning skills such as personal and social, or maybe even employability skills. They then decide that they may like to work with animals, and they start the year in September with us in the winter, which is one of the most hardest, gruelling tasks that there is working with animals on a farm site in the winter. So it gives them a lot of dedication and responsibility to the animals. So a lot of our sessions that we run within the animal care are quite focused, so we'll have like units such as handling, units such as well-being and different areas like that, but we also do a lot of animal assisted therapy, in which is just free time spent with the animals, learning how to groom the animals and learning how to just be at one with the animals. The learners look a lot into the animal behaviour, and they're able to recognise positive and negative behaviours in animals, and I think seeing those behavioural changes when looking at their own personal state of mind at the time. So if that learner in particular may be struggling, feeling a little bit overwhelmed, even feeling angry or anxious, they will go and spend time with an animal of choice. Now, that animal may react in an adverse way if their persona is too much for the animal at the time. So the students can then recognise the behavioural responses in animals to allow them to adjust their own behaviours and realise that actually maybe we can go about this in a different way. It sort of draws them back to a baseline of relaxation where they can start to self-regulate their emotions and work a little bit harder on that area as well.
Through changing lives of so many young people, Works for You has shown that education is so much more than just a qualification.
Coming to Sale and
Bolton in May, and I'm joined from two people from Dangerous to Know company, Caroline Lamb, who is the writer, and John Joyce O'Keefe, one of the actors, to talk about On Me. Now, this is a gender-based violence storyline. Caroline, what led you to write it?
It's just so sadly ubiquitous, gender-based violence. And every day, I mean, every time that we've had the play on, people have said it's timely, it's very timely. But of course it's timely because there are always news stories that are kind of popping up on our feeds about gender-based violence in whatever form. And it was really something that as a woman, I took very, very seriously, as one has to. So I graduated from the University of Manchester's MA playwriting course in 2021, and my tutors, while there, they would always impress on us to write about something that you care deeply about, because obviously that will come through. And this was the no-brainer. This was the thing that I really wanted to address. So that's really the reason.
So in terms of this, obviously it's a strong storyline. What do you want the audience to come away from the production feeling?
Well, in terms of feeling, obviously I want them to feel kind of sort of incentivized to do something, to have conversations, to basically address the issue in whatever way they can. So even just speaking openly about these things, it's difficult. A lot of people find it difficult to talk about gender-based violence. And it's not just women as well who find it difficult. The story addresses the kind of the male perspective. The story addresses kind of the need to be protective of women, whilst the women themselves obviously want to experience freedom. They want spontaneity sometimes, but that's very hard when the very real issue, gender-based violence, exists. But of course, men and other allies are very aware that women are in danger, which makes the conversations very difficult to have sort of respectfully and in a balanced way. So obviously I want people to have conversations about gender-based violence, but also an understanding about how universal it is for women. You know, almost every woman has experienced gender-based violence in one form or another. So I want that to be, you know, part of the understanding that comes from the piece. But one of the great things that I think about this project is that we're trying to make a tangible difference. So we are being supported at our different venues by charities. At the point of sale, audience members can, if they choose, donate to those charities. The charities will have representatives at the venues on the night who will be raising money there as well if people wish to donate in person. And on the 2nd of May in Sale at the Waterside Arts Centre, and on the 16th of May at Bolton Central Library, we're going to be having panel discussions. So basically, members of the community, people who attend, can speak to decision makers or frontline workers about the issues that they've experienced with gender-based violence, or any observations that they have on how things currently stand, any questions they may have on the processes of tackling gender-based violence. So it's not just feelings, but it's also action that we want to kind of elicit.
Yeah. And do you think, I mean, people, you know, focus on the post office scandal at the moment, which kind of came to the fore. We all knew about it, everywhere, you know, with people writing articles, but suddenly to see it in a drama, to see actual people's stories, actually humanity dealing with it, suddenly people woke up. And do you think that's something that, you know, theatre television can do?
Absolutely. And theatre especially is so immediate. I think that there is almost something instinctive in people that when you see a real person in front of you going through something in real time, I think it sort of creates some kind of response almost animalistically, that you want to help, you want to be involved, you want to stop the bad things from happening and, you know, find a solution. I absolutely think that that's true. Cinema, of course, as well, is very much the same, but theatre being in the same room with a real person, I think, you know, that's one of the reasons why I think this needed to be a play.
So, John, how did you get involved then?
Well, I've worked with director Helen Parry a few times in the past, and she sent me an email just asking if I'd be interested in being involved, and then sent me the script. And yeah, as soon as I read it, I knew there was something that I definitely wanted to be involved in. Being a father of you know, I've got 2 kids, a daughter and a son. I always worry about, well, I worry about both of them, but I particularly worry about my daughter, especially when she was going out in town, just and you know, she'd tell me stories of things that men or boys would say, or even just like even being on the tram where people are taking photos, and she was just like, "Oh, I'm used to it," and I'm like, "You shouldn't be. You know, it isn't acceptable." And also for my son, who's going to be 18, I think it's important for him. I mean, he's a great kid, but for young men to see how they should behave, you know, and see the effects that it has, and like, you know, when it's live, I think it will really bring it home to everybody.
Lovely. So that sounds something that everyone should go and see. And as I say, it is at the Waterside Art Centre in Sale, and also at Bolton's Central Library. The dates will be on the screen. We're going to now have a look at some of this production.
I agreed to do this because I don't want other women to end up like me, or like those girls. Women should know how to stay safe from people like that. I think about it every day. I know that if I'd reported it sooner, or hadn't provoked him, or hadn't dropped the charges, then I might have been okay. I let my guard down. I should have stayed away from him. I should have protected myself. I should have tried harder. I should have tried harder. I'll always know it's on me.
Stop following me, we all fucking out!
Oh, sorry. Did I,
Are you okay?
No, I just
Sorry,
forgot
I
my
can
line.
bring
Oh,
that
watch out,
down.
sorry.
Don't go.
No. Oh, wait, so we could have...
Have you got it? Okay.
Caroline said there in the interview, there is something about live theatre that creates reaction, hopefully create positive change that you really can't get anywhere else. Now, just a reminder that next Thursday, which is the 2nd of May, it's election day. So here in Greater Manchester, not only are we electing local councillors, but also the Mayor of Greater Manchester, and wherever you're watching in Britain, you'll probably find there's an election on your doorstep too. Don't forget that this year you do have to take photo ID, so you need to sort that out before you go to vote. Right, now I have popped over the Pennines to Leeds to have a look around. Old place to go, and found a few Mancunian connections. Hello, and for this week's walk we've come a bit further afield over into West Yorkshire and the city of Leeds, which of course is well known these days for its shopping and entertainment. Behind me is St John's the Evangelist Church, which is the oldest church in Leeds city centre, going back to the 1600s. And then over to my left, the Leeds Charity School. And it tells me on the blue plaque there that in 1815, this former almshouse was altered into a school so that they could take 80 poor girls and train them in domestic service. So this is the historic part of the city. Much building, just like Manchester, going on all over the place. Let's have a quick look around the shopping district. Now, when I told friends I was coming to Leeds to have a walk, they said, you're going to end up buying something. It's the city of shops, but we'll see. one thing I have noticed already is the amount of old buildings they've managed to keep or repurpose alongside the new ones, and that's good to see. Theatres in Leeds city centre. It is perhaps the most famous going back to the 1860s. The Leeds City Varieties, Houdini, Harry Lauder, they all played here. Charlie Chaplin too. And for many of us of a certain age, it's also the home of the good old days on BBC. Leonard Sachs acted as chairman, and every Saturday night, live entertainment right here from the City Varieties. The market continues to thrive, even since the Victorian period. It was the first place that Marks and Spencer's had their market stall. The first shop was in Manchester. And it's near here that the first carbonated water was produced. Yes, back, over 400 years ago. This fabulous network of arcades dating back to 1900, still in use today, and they've been modernised slightly. In fact, the modern stained glass on the roof is actually by Brian Clark, the Oldham-born stained glass expert. I was told Leeds was the city of shops, and indeed I've come for a walk. I've ended up buying 2 suits. So there you are. I've enjoyed it immensely. It's a lovely historical place, home of Ernie Wiseman, who became Ernie Wise, Peter O'Toole, Jeremy Paxman and Barry Cryer. And those who remember Barry Cryer might remember he had black rimmed glasses, and I've learned a little fact about him. And that is, he didn't need glasses at all, but he thought it made him stood out from the other comedians of his time. So there you are, Leeds, well worth a visit. And I'll see you next time. And it was a lovely city. Well, that just about brings us to the end of the show. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm not here next week. But she'll be on her own, or maybe Michael Adam or Bob in. But no, I'll be in Failsworth, talking about the Oldham Coliseum at Failsworth Historical Society, if you want to bob along. And next Thursday, I lecture at Stalybridge Congregation Church, talking at in the evening, 7:30, all about the history of Coronation Street. That's £2 and in aid of Willowwood. So why not join me at a live event? But that's it for our live show. As I say, Belinda will be here next week. We can see whether she's had any work done or not. But thank you for joining me, and also our director, Josh, who's been absolutely fabulous. Okay. And that's it for another episode of Your Manchester.